What if you could enroll in a 15-week course and land your dream marketing job with $0 up front? Sound too good to be true? Today we're going to talk with Gen Z founder of SkillBank, Mehak Vohra.
Hi, my name is Mehak, and this is my college dropout story. At the age of 19, I moved out to San Francisco with nothing but a blow-up mattress and a dream for starting a startup. But at the time, I didn't have the funds to start a startup, so instead, I started a marketing agency where I worked with startups and I taught them how to do marketing. I also went on the news and started talking about Gen Z marketing and how businesses could take advantage of the new marketing landscape. Over time, people started to take notice, and I was featured in Marie Claire, Forbes, I had a TEDx talk, and I started to see not only my social stats grow, but my company grow as well. I even had a documentary made after me. That all leads me to today. I now run a school where I teach people how to do marketing in 3 months, and we help them land a job at a tech company. I can't wait to see what happens next.
You just got to do things that'll make people talk. That's it. For me, it started off very simply as being a 19-year-old Indian kid dropping out of college. People talked about that.
Welcome to the Inspired Money channel, where we explore positive money stories. I'm Andy, your host and financial advisor at Runnymede Capital Management. Together, let's shift our perspectives on money so we can make more and give more to make the world a better place. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you want to do better with your money, hit like. Let's get started. We're going to talk with Mehak, who studied computer science for 2 years at Purdue University and dropped out to start a marketing agency. Today, she's CEO and founder at SkillBank, a career accelerator and online program focused on training the next generation of marketers. SkillBank has received funding from angel investor Jason Calacanis. We're going to explore her entrepreneurial journey. In this episode, you'll learn founding a venture-backed startup versus a lifestyle business, how SkillBank works so students pay nothing up front. We're going to learn about income sharing agreements. And then stay tuned through the end to hear how a hybrid education could be highly effective. That's part college and part career training program like SkillBank. Now let's get inspired with Mehak Vohra. Mehak, welcome to Inspired Money. I'm so excited to have you on the show.
Hey, Andy, thanks so much for having me.
Let's jump right in. What's your earliest childhood memory of money?
Yeah, I think my earliest childhood memory, I think making money. I found that if you put water in dishwashing soap, you had bubble liquid. So me and my friends put that into cups and sold that on the side of our street to all the other kids in my neighborhood. I think the first time, though, I saw tangible money that I could use, I used to ref soccer games growing up. And going into my freshman year of high school, my parents bought me this really cheap, $100 laptop. And it's here, this is what you can take with you. And I was no, I really want a MacBook. And they're just absolutely not. You're 14 years old. If you want to do it, you need to save up for it. So I spent the whole summer reffing soccer games from the morning to the evening. And I think they paid $10 to $15 per game. And by the end of the summer, I saved up about $1,000 and was able to buy my first MacBook. So I think that was the first time I made a big purchase.
So you had that entrepreneur's hustle really early on. What was the money situation like where you grew up in West Virginia?
Yeah, I was pretty fortunate. I grew up in a pretty middle-class family. But I think money also wasn't something that was growing on trees. We had to make sure that we were spending appropriately, and my parents have always really instilled in us that we need to be savers, and we really need to be thinking about our future. So from the time that I was little, it was all right, you're making this amount of money, you need to put X away for college, you need to put X away into savings for later. Nothing was ever handed to us. And I think that was the most important thing.
I understand that you left college at age 19. What was your parents' reaction? Was there an expectation that you're supposed to be a good student and finish school and then go get a steady job?
Yeah, so my dad's a doctor. So like, like the goal was like, hey, go to med school, take over the family practice, like that was the dream. Or start, like, or become a part of it. And for me, it was, I realized going into my like junior or senior year of high school that I didn't want to do that at all. I was enjoying programming a lot more, and I was making apps on the weekends, and I had learned how to code during my high school years. So going into college, it was just like, all right, this is the path for me to becoming a programmer full time and being able to work at a tech startup or at like an Apple or a Facebook, which like they have pretty exciting deals for software engineers when you're looking to join them. But what I quickly realized going into college and spending 2 years at Purdue was I was actually learning a lot more with programming, going to hackathons on the weekend. Hackathons are like 36-hour coding competitions. And talking to recruiters at these hackathons, they'd always say like, we're not really like, we're hiring people who also don't have degrees, and like we're actually like looking to poach people using these hackathons outside of college. So after my sophomore year, I went back to my parents and I was just like, look, we're spending money for me to go on out, like to do out-of-state tuition when I could get a job anyway at one of these companies, and I think make just as much as my friends did or will do whenever they graduate. So why don't you give me 6 months to go out to SF and let me figure out a life for myself? And I want to start working with startups. And I was really interested in marketing and like the technical side of marketing.
What was your parents' reaction to that?
Yeah, they weren't stoked. Like they were, like traditional like Indian family, right? Like they were just like, hey, very worried. I think, but I proved results out very quickly in that first year. And they now are like the most supportive people. And I think even then they like recognized that like I wouldn't have dropped out if I hadn't had gotten their blessing to do it. And they were very like emotionally there for me. Like they were just like, hey, like financially, if you're not going to take our path, like you're cut off. But if I like lost a client or like something didn't happen in the way that I expected it to, I could still call my parents and like cry to them about it or whatever, and they wouldn't rub it in my face like, see, this is what happens when you drop out. Like there's nothing like that. They were very like emotionally like available for me through that experience.
I mean, it sounded like you had this enthusiasm and you had a vision. What was that vision when you left school?
I wanted to start a marketing agency. And my dream was like I wanted to build something that was like a big marketing agency that mainly focused on the technical aspects of marketing. So like building bots and like how do we like game social media systems to actually like help our clients grow. And what I very quickly realized working on that company for 3 years, like we were able to scale up and I was able to like build a small team around me, but I realized that a marketing agency, because they're a services-based business, is not going to be able to scale in the same way that a startup would, or like a tech startup would. We could try to productize our services as much as we could, streamline everything, and at the end of the day, every client is still their own edge case. And that really made me like step back and take a hard look at like, do I want to be building a services agency for the next 10 to 15 years of my life? And the answer is no.
Do you view that as more a like lifestyle business versus a very fast growing venture-backed startup that is just scaling much faster?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like an agency is definitely at the end of the day more of a lifestyle business. Like you're working with companies one-on-one, you're providing services to them, whereas like every client's different. Whereas with like a tech startup, you have one product, you're pushing that out to hundreds of thousands of people, and you're helping them do what they want to do. And realizing that was what I wanted to do was that really next big step for me for starting the company that I'm currently running. And we're still kind of like a marketing agency of sorts, but we're running it as a tech startup.
Okay, let's get into what you're doing now.
Yeah.
Taking a step back before that, I mean, it seems like with the hackathons, you pretty quickly saw a value in learning by doing versus sitting in a class for a whole semester. And so tell us about Skillshare, this career accelerator company that you're now running. What is the gap that you saw? What was the opportunity?
Yeah, so SkillBank.
Oh, what did I say? Skillshare? Sorry,
Yeah.
SkillBank.
SkillBank, yep. So SkillBank, we noticed that, like, just even through my story, but also looking at my friends, there's a really big gap right now between what they're teaching in college and what they're teaching, what like agencies and marketing people want to see whenever they're hiring for that first entry level role. So we're bridging that gap between college and getting your first job. And there's other boot camps out there that are teaching marketing, but there's two things that sets us apart. The first thing is that the program is completely free up front. So you actually don't start paying us back until you're making over $40,000 a year. The second thing is that we're not teaching generalized marketing. There's other boot camps that are out there that are like, hey, this is digital marketing. You're going to learn SEO, paid media, copywriting, creative, everything. We've said, hey, we're not trying to make a jack of all trades. We're trying to make the best entry-level marketers that are out there. And the way to do that is we actually specialize them. So the first course that we've launched is in paid media. And we're teaching people how to do Facebook ads and Google ads in 15 weeks, and then helping them land paid media roles and demand generation roles at an agency or at a tech startup.
So is that a reflection on your experience having run a marketing agency yourself? Like, you knew how to create a business that you're delivering value that clients are willing to pay you for.
Yeah, absolutely. And, even like looking back on my own story, I really wish that there was something that I could have actually pointed to say, hey, like, this is actually what I need to learn. This is what companies are looking for. And on the student side, there was no, there's nothing for that right now for you to look to and say, like, you can watch YouTube videos, you could apply with thousands of other people through AngelList and LinkedIn, but at the end of the day, there's no streamlined way to actually helping you land that job. And then looking at my experience with running my agency, we realized that we couldn't scale the services because every client is different, but we realized we could scale the people that were giving the services and in some sort of way actually create a scalable agency. So that's what made the most sense to me at the end of the day was like, okay, if I actually want to build $1 billion agency, we're not going to do that through actually providing services. We're going to teach people how to do it.
Mehak, what is the traditional path for a student who wants to get into growth hacking and marketing? Is it to get a marketing degree in college, and after sitting through that, then you actually have to land a job where you're going to have on-the-job training?
Yeah, most of the best growth marketers that I know actually didn't go to college and have some sort of technical background. Whether it's like they learned how to code like I did, or they're learning how to use no-code tools. And the most traditional way, that we're seeing right now is like they studied something in college. It doesn't even have to be marketing. And then they left college and they're just like, all right, I need to start making money. What are some things that I can do? And they find a group of companies that are willing to take that chance on them. And that's how I broke in. I was sneaking into parties when I first moved out to the Bay. I mean, I was 19 years old. So like I realized I could get away with a lot at the time. So I used that to my advantage and used that to help me get my foot in the door at places and then say, hey, you don't have to pay me anything in the beginning. I just want to work for you. I want to build my portfolio. And if I can figure this out, then you can start paying me. And slowly over time, I started to build a Rolodex of customers that I was working with. And yeah, creating that.
It's a super attractive proposition for students because traditional college, I don't know, it may cost you like $100,000, $250,000, and then what? Maybe you land a job getting paid $50,000 to $70,000 a year. So you've got a debt problem that you're dealing with. Yours is no money up front.
Yep.
And what is it? 15 weeks, and you're going to get trained for a job. So, all right, first let's start with how many students have come through SkillBank so far? And what were they making before coming in versus after?
Yeah, so our most recent cohort was 20 students. So we're starting to slowly build our way up. Average salary coming into our program is $15,000 a year. Average salary leaving our program right now is about $70K a year.
Yeah, I don't know how you say that. You need to say that with like fireworks going on behind you or something. I mean, that is the money sort of bears out the concept.
Yeah.
You're training people in short order, and that's life changing from $10,000 to $15,000 to 75.
Absolutely. And it's like, it's the most rewarding thing to have such a direct impact on people's lives. Like talking to a student and like they're crying on the phone because like they just landed a job. I mean, nothing is going to beat that for me at the end of the day. So it's really cool to see that if you're motivated and you're willing to put in the work and you're willing to stay up and like get it figured out, like we're like one of the best places I believe to go to do that.
How does the application process work? Because I understand that you get a lot of applicants and you're really handpicking, trying to find the right individuals. What is it that you're looking for on your side?
Yeah, so what we're mainly looking for is just that you're motivated to land a job in the next 3 to 6 months. We'll have people that are coming in saying like, hey, I want to go through SkillBank because I want to like start my own business or because I want to do X, Y, and Z. And I actually really wish when I look at my previous experience that instead of like trying to start an agency first, I would have gone and worked somewhere because I would have actually seen like what a company looks like internally to go in and start my own business. But yeah, we're not looking for people that are like trying to start a business or people that are like currently still in college. An ideal student for us is someone that's looking for a new job in the next 3 to 6 months or is in their final semester of their senior year in college and they're looking to bridge that gap.
And what's been the age range so far?
It's been all over the place. I mean, average, it's probably like 29 to 30. But we've had students as young as 19 and as old as 60.
And tell us a little bit about the curriculum, because I understand that it's online through Zoom. It's instructor-led. How does it work?
Yeah, so classes are completely live through Zoom, Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays for 2 hours in the evening. The curriculum, like I said, is very specialized. So within the first 8 weeks, you're going to be learning everything under paid media. So like Facebook ads, Google ads, how do you run website funnel tests, how do you like iterate on your product. And then we're going to move you into an apprenticeship. So you'll get experience working with a company that's either under our umbrella or with a partner company that we're with. And you'll be able to, by the end of the program, report on your experiences and say, hey, for this company, I was able to provide X, Y, Z results. And this is how I could do it for you too. And that's really actually just what agencies and startups want to see with an entry-level person coming in is that, the person's like moldable, but they have enough experience that they can bring some new ideas to the table. At the end of the day, like marketing is just all about iterating. So if you're really motivated and you're willing to put in the time and the effort, you're going to be able to land a great job.
So you're teaching the paid media skills, the how-to, but you go beyond that. You also teach soft skills, how to interview, how to do outreach to companies. How does that work? Like what percentage is like, how do you spread that out within the 15 weeks?
Yeah, so we start our career curriculum on week 3. So that's when they get introduced to their career advisor. They start on Wednesdays is when we start doing those classes. And that's just starting off with, hey, let's start putting your resume together. Like this is how you should be thinking about pitching yourself. And then when it comes to informational interviews, we're trying to get our fellows over the hurdle of thinking of like getting denied. And the best way to do that is through actually having them put themselves out there and reaching out to people saying, hey, can I steal 10 minutes of your time to ask you some questions about your role? And it helps them with actually building relationships 8 to 10 weeks out before they're even actually looking for that job in our program. So yeah, I mean, I think a lot of what our job is actually helping them get over that mental hurdle of getting turned down. And I think once you can get through that, the world's limitless.
Did you really get advice from your mom about getting no's when you were young?
Yeah. Yeah. she'd always say to me that for every 100 no's, you're going to get a yes. And I, growing up, have always kept that with me. And like, even when we were fundraising for SkillBank, my goal is I wanted to get to 100 no's. And like, in doing that, it actually pushed my investor conversation so much quicker, because it was, I wasn't around for the bullshit. Sorry, I don't know if I can curse, but I wasn't around for it. Like if you're in, great. If not, that's a no. I can check it off, and I'm one no closer to a yes. And I think it's a lot healthier way to look at it, because you're everything that you're doing is information, right? Like, if you're getting a no, why are they telling me no? What could I be doing differently? And if you frame it in your mind as that way, it's really, really hard to get discouraged, because you're actually just making progress.
Yeah, I found that it's kind of a fun way to gamify the process, because oftentimes I think because people don't want to be confrontational, like, it's actually harder to get a no than you think. Oftentimes people they ghost you, or they just don't answer. So to actually get the no, and you like hatch mark, you're like, yes, I got a no. I'm on my way to 100. You can celebrate.
Yeah, exactly.
And it pushes you harder. It pushes you to, I don't know, I guess to welcome. Maybe, well, two things. One is that you ask more frequently, because you want to see if you can get the no, but you may just get a yes, and then you just move on. But yeah, that's interesting. Great advice. How is it that you came to the model of the income sharing agreement? Why did you decide on that?
Yeah, there's quite a few other boot camps that have started this. I mean, also I went to Purdue. So Purdue was the first university to start doing income share agreements. They have their Back a Boiler program. But yeah, I mean, it was mainly popularized by coding boot camps. And within 9 months, we'll teach you everything you need to know about programming, and then we'll help you land a job. What I realized is like, especially with marketing, or even sales, whatever operations, all of these fields, there's still somewhat of a learning curve. And if you don't know where to start, it's hard to know where to go to. So income share agreements give people that way to get their feet wet without having to actually like completely commit or to pay for something up front. On our end, what it just means for us is we just have to be very careful with the people that we're pulling in, are people that, are like ready to work, and are people that are like excited to like land that job. So, it's an interesting model. And I think that like we've been playing around with like, what are some other options for us? But income share agreements are by far, I think, the best option for actually democratizing access to education right now.
Were you keen on the income sharing at the outset, or did you weigh different models for like paying for the course, et cetera?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different ways that we could do it, right? So like, yeah, there's income share agreements. We could have them pay up front, which is our other payment option. We're starting to see other boot camps are doing installments. So like, after you're making over 40K a year, you start paying back $500 a month until you reach a specific amount. So like, there's hybrid versions of what that income share agreement, or what that agreement can look like. Right now, what we're really focused on is actually just like, what's a price point that's good? And then how can we just help people land a job as quickly as possible? And I think over time, we'll start to like maybe play around with that idea of what an income share agreement can look like. But it hasn't been like too much into our thought, just because like that road has already been paved for us by other boot camps in the space.
What do the details look like again? So a student's coming in, they're not paying anything up front. What is the arrangement?
So, you don't pay anything up front. And then once you start making $40,000 a year or more, you start to pay us back 10% of your salary over 2 years.
And to what extent is that regulated? Like, what restrictions do you have?
Yeah, so we have a cap on our ISA. So that means that you're not going to be paying us more than $15K. And each state has a very different law around it. The state of California is very different from the state of Texas, which is very different from the state of New York. So it really just comes down to understanding the states that you're operating in. And I think it's a new thing, right? So like, I think a lot of states are trying to figure out right now, what does it mean to allow income share agreements and start using them. So yeah, it's all very new of like the last like 5 or 6 years.
What is Leaf? Leaf, do you guys use Leaf to help handle the ISAs?
Yeah. So yeah, Leaf is our ISA provider. Whenever a student applies to SkillBank, we put them through Leaf's platform, and Leaf does all of the income share agreements for us.
How does that get managed as far as, collecting, getting paid for your company?
Yeah, I mean, that's all on Leaf's side. Leaf is like a third party. They're working with a bunch of other really well-known boot camps in the space. And yeah, I mean, like we connect to our students' bank accounts whenever they join the program, and they can set it to automatic or manual payments once they actually start hitting that payment cap or threshold. So yeah, I mean that's more Leaf's department, and they handle that for us.
Got it. So they're working more so with the employee though, right? Not with the employer for getting paid. For collecting.
Yeah, so we have no agreements with the companies with our students. And there's other boot camps out there that are taking placement fees. We're not doing that. And the biggest reason for that is because that would be us limiting our students' access to different companies. Like we don't want to have a company pay us to actually help our student land a job. So our agreements at the end of the day are with the students and the students only.
Mm-hmm. And it seems to work well because I would think from the students' perspective, one, they didn't have to pay up front, but two, SkillBank has skin in the game. Like It's in your interest to equip them to land a great job, because if not, you're not going to get paid.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what is your vision for the possibilities of expanding curriculum? Like, where can this go? How far can it go? Because it does seem like you are disrupting traditional education in many ways.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of other boot camps out there that have this opinion of like, don't go to college, like college isn't worth it. I think college is great if you're trying to explore and you're like trying to figure out that next step in your life. Like I didn't graduate, but those 2 years that I was there, I learned a lot about myself. I also got to party. I got to I got to get all of those experiences out. But whenever I was ready to work, I wished that there was something that was there to help bridge that gap for me. And that's what SkillBank is at the end of the day, we're there to be that next step for you. Regardless of, if we like to say that we're not a college replacement, but college isn't necessary. And you can do whatever you want to do. I think right now, unless you want to like become a doctor or a lawyer, then you should definitely go to college for that. But I think you're not
going to have a 15-week like surgical course.
Yeah, exactly. That's gonna take a little bit more time, but yeah. If you're trying to run Facebook ads and Google ads, I mean, really at the end of the day, like the only way you're gonna learn is by doing. So it's just like you just need to get your foot in the door.
But you think that there are possibilities to have sales training or human resources? There are like some pretty broad categories that you can enter into.
Absolutely. I mean, our goal is in the next 10 to 15 years, I want to build the biggest community college in the country. I want to help people, regardless of where they are, land a job as quickly as possible and get to that next step.
Yeah, I heard you say something to the effect that that you don't think that people should be bound by their education or their finances. It's like you want to equip them. So as long as they're willing to work hard, that anything's possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, I look at even myself growing up in Morgantown, West Virginia, like there wasn't a lot of opportunities out there compared to what we're seeing out here in LA, or even when my parents moved to Tennessee, like so many more opportunities there. And I sometimes wonder, like, if I would have seen the opportunities that I'm seeing here in LA at like a much younger age, where would I be today, or what would I be doing? And I think that's what I'm super passionate about, is like regardless of where you are, how can we give you the best opportunity to find success if you want to find it?
Since your program is virtual via Zoom, are your students spread all over?
Yeah, we have students from Florida to here in California, across the US.
And then how about the job opportunities? Do those companies that are hiring, do they prefer to have employees that are in the office and nearby, or can they work remotely? Of course, I don't know. We're coming out of a pandemic, so maybe all of the above.
I was going to say the pandemic has definitely made it easier for us to place remotely. I think it really depends. Tech startups, I think, are becoming less averse to hiring remotely, whereas before, I think 3 or 4 years ago, they would have said, no, we need people in the office. I think COVID has really helped with playing a role in opening people's eyes to hey, it's cheaper for us to do things remotely, or it's cheaper for us to hire someone from the Midwest that has a lot of experience under their belt. So I think we're seeing the tide shift a little bit in the employment market.
And it does seem that in the space where you started and launched things with paid Facebook ads and paid marketing, I feel like it can be done remotely.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. A lot of these agencies too now, they want to hire remotely because it's cheaper talent than having to hire someone in LA or San Francisco and paying them 90 to 100K a year to make it make someone work with them there, or they could hire someone out in the Midwest that's maybe a little bit cheaper and the cost of living is a lot lower.
For the graduates, is the goal to be hired as an employee or as a freelancer, or can it be either or?
It can be either or. So as long as you're making over 3.3K per month, you're over our threshold to start paying us back. So we have a couple of students that are actually just working contract work right now. And that's all they want to do. In those scenarios, if you're making over that threshold, you start to pay us back that 10%. But ideally, we'd like you to land a full-time job just because it's more stable, but to each their own.
Okay, I'm curious that since you previously had this more of a lifestyle company, how did you transition into what you're doing now? Tell us a little bit how you learned how to get into the fundraising. Where did you start?
So when I did Jamocha, which is my agency, I was just really exhausted. Going into 2019, I realized at that point that the business was a lot of fun. I enjoyed the flexibility of it, and I was able to automate myself out for the most part. But what I ended up doing was I just ended up passing it on to one of our editors because she wanted to take it over. So I was just all right, you can work on this. I just really want to wipe my hands clean of this. I don't want to do this anymore. And all of my savings, I just pushed it into SkillBank and did that and used that. And then we didn't actually close our round until January of this year.
How much was that for? Because you were oversubscribed, I think.
We raised 1.3 million. And it was a slow grind. When I started SkillBank, it was just me. So I was teaching classes in the morning, doing BD for hiring partners in the afternoon. And then once we went through an accelerator, we were able to hire on a teacher and slowly start to build things out a little bit bigger than just me.
How did you find the accelerator?
I was on so I don't know if you're familiar with Jason Calacanis, but he's a pretty well-known investor out in the Bay. And he used to do these office hours in person pre-pandemic, and it was on his podcast. And I was invited to go up there and ask him a couple questions. And we had a conversation about SkillBank, which actually at the time was called On Delta. And I just I really liked him. I really liked his team, and they, I guess, really liked me back and invited me to join his accelerator in the summer of 2020.
So you had on Delta, once you decided that you needed funds and you needed to grow, was approaching Jason and his accelerator, was that all part of your mentality of getting the no's? Like you just keep asking everywhere?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think every step though, you have to look at it as like a success. So it was like, all right, we had closed like a small angel round of like 45 or 50K in March of 2020. And that was like, all right, we're starting over our nose now. Like we got this little amount here, like what's that next step? And I realized that I wanted to go through some sort of structured program, whether it was like Launch, which is Jason's program, or YC or something where, I could get a little bit more of that structure. Because I'd never raised money before. So this being my first business, I wanted to get people around me that had a little bit more experience.
And are you trying to talk to as many people as you can to educate yourself, since there isn't a SkillBank for fundraising that you could go to,
I wish,
to show you the ropes?
I mean, I guess that's kind of like what Launch and YC are, but I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know what I don't know. So I'm always trying to surround myself by people that I feel like are a couple of steps ahead of me that can provide some insights for me and help me figure out that next phase.
And then I'm curious, what does allocating funds look like when you raise the initial 45 to 50K versus 1.3 million?
Yeah, I mean, whenever we did that, it was like the first like little angel money that was just enough to like keep me afloat and like be able to like pay my rent and make sure like I'm like doing okay. When you're raising a much bigger amount, it's about like, all right, now that money's no longer too much of an issue, how can we actually just get the best people on our team so that way we can actually start to build things out and make things a little bit bigger.
And what does the team look like today?
So there's 4 of us full time. We're just all covering different parts of the business. So from like working with hiring partners to working with the students to teaching admissions, we're all just kind of like tag teaming things right now and trying to scale things up.
So you mentioned the vision of building like the largest community college there is. Is there like an exit in mind, or do you not think of that right now because it's too early?
I mean, I don't want to exit. Like I want to IPO. So, when it comes down to it at the end of the day, like I want to build a really big company that's around for a very, very long time. So, I mean, to me, I don't want to exit and sell to someone else.
So a for-profit school, but a much different school than most of us know.
Yeah, and it's like I wouldn't even call us a school. We're like a training provider, really. At the end of the day, like we're not giving our students grades. We're not like we have an instructor, but really it's like you get out of the program what you put into it. I think school. It's like about time that people start to even look at school in that way too.
Do you think that like traditional colleges and universities will begin to teach like practical skills, or are they just so set in their ways?
I mean, I really hope so. And I mean, I know it would be competition for us, but college right now, as we see it, I honestly think is a scam. But with that being said, like, I did really enjoy my 2 years while I was there. Like I learned a lot about myself in that period. And even though I didn't graduate, I wouldn't give that up. And I think that some people need that, or they need more than that. They need those full 4 years to like party, to explore, to like try different things, to meet different people. And like, it's really hard to simulate that aspect of college. So I don't know. I hope college doesn't disappear just for that reason.
Well, I guess looking at your path, it seems like a hybrid would work. It's like you do 2 years of college, you cut your expense in half, and then you get like practical training that's going to land you a job. And then you have best of both worlds.
Yeah, I mean, like our ideal student, honestly, is someone who's like gotten their associate's degree at their local community college and is now like looking to make that next step. So like, yeah, they've been in college for 2 years and now they're ready to actually start working.
So I want to ask you, because I saw that you were I think the youngest person to run for mayor of San Francisco. Is that right?
Yes.
Why did you do that? How did that happen?
It's a great question. I don't know. I don't know why I did that. Would I do it again? No.
Whose idea was that? How did
it was
that
my
idea even...
But I think, it was one of those things where the barrier to entry was just so low that I was just like, how do you not do that? Like the qualifications for running for mayor in San Francisco are you have to be over the age of 18 and are registered to vote in the city. And I was just like, why don't we just try this out and like see what happens? I would highly recommend though never running for politics unless you're like really serious about it. They're ruthless out there, but it was a fun experience. I learned a lot about the SF political system. I learned a lot about the media. I think it was the first time that I really started to see how articles can get written and you just have no control over it. But it was a cool thing to experience, and I'm glad I went through that.
For better or worse. It seems like I see that like it looked like you started a YouTube channel very early. You're taking advantage of TikTok. Like you understand social media and then being able to get earned media or get placement like in magazines and things like that. I'm just curious if we can extract some wisdom from you, because I feel like every person can be their own media company, but many of us don't understand how to do that. And it seems like your position as like a Gen Z marketing expert, like you have a feel for that. You have a knack for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very simply, you just got to do things that'll make people talk. Like, that's it. And I think like for me, like it started off very simply as like being a 19-year-old Indian kid dropping out of college. Like people talked about that.
That is kind of rare, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like I think from that to like, and especially like back in 2015, 2016, like people definitely weren't doing that back then. And yeah, like from there, it's just like, all right, what is like that next thing that we can do? And I mean, I think running for mayor was, I was trying to like level up and trying to like figure out like what are some things that we can do to like make a splash and to like make a difference. And I think SkillBank now is like a much more structured way for me to be able to do that. But also we're really helping people, and I think like that's the most important thing to me.
But you continue to use like your TikTok account. Does that benefit your current company?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I started the TikTok account for SkillBank, and a lot of our marketing is just around telling my story. Because like I started the company, like a lot of it has to like a lot of our ethos and how we think about things is based on my experiences, and building on top of that and making sure that we're testing with the market, of course, and like it's things that people actually want. But a lot of the fellows that come into the program feel like I can relate to them. Like, and I've been through a lot of what they've been through as well. Like when it comes to just like roughing it out and trying to figure out that next phase. But I was just really lucky that I had that emotional support, and we're there to do that and also provide actual skills that they can take with them.
So as an entrepreneur, I mean, today you have like a venture-backed company, but you had this entrepreneurial spirit from when you were very young and making bubble mix. How is it like? How do you view money?
Yeah, I mean, I think I have my relationship with money has always been that it can be gone in an instant. Like you can start doing really well and then it's gone. So I think it really just comes down to being smart with it. But also, if like, it's hard to, I've never had like an aversion to spending money, but I also realize that's from like a very privileged place, that like growing up, I didn't have to worry about food not being on the table, or like not knowing where I was going to sleep the next night. So I think when I dropped out and I had to like learn how to make money on my own and like figure out that life for myself, once I started making money again, I think I developed like a very healthy relationship with it, that like, like money can go at any point in time. Like if I mess up, or if I stop succeeding, or if I stop working, that you can't take money for granted. But also at the same time, I believe that like you should be working to provide for yourself and to create experiences. Life is all about experiences. And like at the end of the day, if you're not optimizing for those experiences, you're not living life to the fullest. So I'm always going to be down to spend money if it means that I'm getting something new out of my life.
And I'm just curious, with this, with the like revenue sharing model, how many students do you need to get to the revenue numbers that you envision? Sort of like big goal.
Yeah, so for us to become $1 billion company, we need to place 7,000 students into a job. And I mean, that's a small community college, so it's definitely doable. So it's a long road ahead, but definitely doable.
Well, I think that the value that you're adding, that you're empowering students with, and the fact that they're placing into jobs that can pay $75,000 a year, it just shows tremendous promise. So thank you for sharing your Inspired Money story and telling us your path, which I think is pretty unique. Can you tell the Inspire Money listener and viewer where to learn more and how to follow you?
Absolutely. So if you want to learn more about SkillBank and you want to apply, check out our website, joinskillbank.com. If you want to follow us as well, we're at Join SkillBank on all socials, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. If you want to follow me, I'm at the THE and then my full name, Mehak Vohra, MEHAKVOHRA on all social media platforms.
Thanks, Mehak. Love what you're
Thanks
doing.
Thanks so much.
Wish you continued success.
Thank you.
So what was your favorite Inspired Money moment? Income sharing agreements blow my mind. First, I love the idea that it democratizes access to education. Second, when the goal of the program is to help people land good paying jobs after just 15 weeks, that's both life-changing and impactful. What a story. I hope that Mehak can continue to grow and expand on her vision of creating the biggest community college. In my view, what she's created at SkillBank is an example of giving hand-ups versus handouts. If you had a different favorite Inspired Money moment, let me know by posting a comment below. And for listening to the end, I want to send you an Inspired Money sticker. Go to inspiredmoney.fm/Andy, send me your name and address, and I'll put this in the mail right out to you. Thank you so much for joining me on this mission. Have an inspired week and do something that scares you, because that's where the magic happens.